real impact. I mean, bedtime stories are things that, children probably don't get so much nowadays, but it was very important in my day.
In a moment that took many royal watchers by surprise, Princess Anne, known for her discretion and fiercely guarded privacy, lifted the curtain on one of the most persistent rumors within the House of Windsor: Queen Camilla's ongoing difficulties in forming close relationships with other members of the royal family. Speaking with an uncharacteristic openness during a recent candid conversation, the Princess Royal addressed the long-whispered tension, confirming what had only been speculated in whispers, tabloids, and subtle gestures during public appearances. Her remarks struck a chord, not because they were explosive in tone, but because of their sheer honesty and quiet authority. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. Anne, who has built her reputation on diligence, stoicism, and loyalty to the crown above all else, rarely engages in personal disclosures. Her decision to speak about Queen Camilla, a figure who has always drawn polarized opinions, signals a shift, both in terms of royal transparency and in the underlying interpersonal dynamics within the family. Her tone wasn't scathing or even cold, but there was an unmistakable note of realism, even fatigue, that echoed the complex emotional landscape surrounding Camilla's long road to acceptance. Princess Anne's revelations paint a picture that is not merely about dislike or personal grudge. Rather, it's a nuanced, often unspoken series of tensions that began long before Camilla became queen consort, and which have stubbornly persisted despite years of effort, transformation, and time. While many hoped the passing of Queen Elizabeth II and King Charles III's ascension would usher in a new chapter of unity, Anne's words have made it clear: reconciliation is more complex than time and titles can resolve. Camilla's integration into the royal family has been, at best, a slow-burning evolution. Long cast in the role of the other woman during the tumultuous era of Charles and Diana, Camilla became a polarizing figure almost from the start. For a monarchy steeped in tradition, where perception can be as powerful as action, her initial presence caused unease among senior royals. Princess Anne, being both fiercely loyal to her mother and deeply protective of the monarchy's integrity, naturally kept her distance. The long shadows of past scandals, particularly those involving her brother Charles, weren't so easily erased. In the interview, Anne didn't express outright animosity, but she carefully articulated the idea that Camilla never truly made the kind of effort necessary to connect with the family in a meaningful way. Relationships require time, but they also require sincerity, Anne said, and not everyone starts on equal footing. Her words hinted at a belief that Camilla may have underestimated the emotional terrain she was entering, or perhaps overestimated how quickly the past could be left behind. Anne's insight reveals something far deeper than surface-level incompatibility. There's an ingrained ethos within the royal family that dictates how one earns respect through service, discipline, discretion, and a willingness to subordinate personal interests to duty. Princess Anne, who has embodied that ethos for decades, clearly struggled to reconcile that standard with what she perceives as Camilla's more socially driven, less service-oriented approach. It's not about appearances, Anne noted pointedly. It's about purpose. Though Anne's remarks stopped short of being overtly critical, her underlying message was hard to ignore. She alluded to the notion that Camilla, for all her efforts to modernize and soften the royal image, often fails to grasp the weight of responsibility carried by each title, gesture, and public act. And while the public has grown more forgiving, particularly with Charles's visible adoration of his wife, inside palace walls, acceptance is not so easily granted. Anne was clear in pointing out that she doesn't speak for everyone in the family, but her tone suggested she wasn't alone in her sentiments. The tension between Anne and Camilla also finds its roots in contrasting personalities. Anne is direct, no-nonsense, and possessed of an unshakable work ethic. She has long been considered one of the hardest-working royals, often taking on more engagements than any of her siblings. Camilla, by contrast, has adopted a more leisurely public persona, punctuated by moments of genuine charm and wit, but lacking the tireless consistency that Anne reveres. It's this contrast that appears to have deepened the emotional chasm between them. Moreover, Princess Anne's loyalty to her late mother plays a significant role in this complex dynamic. Queen Elizabeth II, while ultimately endorsing Camilla as queen consort, was not known to be effusive in her personal support. The late monarch's approval was hard-won and often quietly given, and those close to her, Anne chief among them, likely carry unspoken reservations born of years watching their mother navigate a very public family crisis. Anne's connection to her mother's legacy is not only personal, it's practically sacred. To her, honoring that legacy means guarding the standards and values Elizabeth embodied, and it's clear she views Camilla as falling short in that regard. Interestingly, Anne made a subtle yet telling comment about Diana, Princess of Wales, when discussing how relationships in the family have always been shaped by public perception. Diana had her battles, she said, but she had a kind of emotional intelligence that connected her to people, even if it didn't always serve her well within these walls. The remark wasn't so much a comparison as it was an acknowledgement that public sympathy, while powerful, cannot be a substitute for familial integration. In many ways, Anne implied that Camilla had neither Diana's emotional resonance nor the grit required to weather the internal dynamics of the royal circle. While Princess Anne's words are steeped in personal experience, they also reflect the shifting tides within the institution itself. The royal family, for all its pageantry and tradition, is still a family, complete with grudges, alliances, miscommunications, and emotional blind spots. Camilla's journey has often been described as a public rehabilitation, but Anne's revelation suggests the private reckoning remains incomplete. There's a difference between public acceptance and personal belonging, and it seems Camilla has yet to fully bridge that gap. It's worth noting that Queen Camilla has made visible efforts to earn her place. Her work with literacy programs, domestic violence charities, and the arts has brought her positive attention. Her demeanor during public engagements is usually warm, composed, and self-effacing, but as Anne subtly reminded her audience, the royal family measures contribution not just by public image, but by consistency of duty over decades. For Anne, whose entire life has been shaped by unrelenting service, Camilla's efforts may still fall short of the mark. Even within the next generation, there appear to be unspoken rifts. While Camilla has cordial relationships with Prince William and Prince Harry in public, insiders have long suggested that the warmth is carefully managed, not naturally flowing. Anne's children, Zara and Peter, maintain polite but distant interactions, suggesting that the bonds haven't deepened over time. There's no open hostility, just a steady undercurrent of emotional reservation that no amount of titles or ceremonies can fully erase. Princess Anne's decision to speak openly may not have been driven by personal vendetta. More likely, it reflects a desire to clarify, in her typically blunt way, why the fairy tale of post-ascension unity remains a myth. The public often sees smiling faces on balconies and carefully choreographed family gatherings, but behind those closed palace doors, relationships are far more fragile, and forgiveness, when it comes, is earned, not granted. The reaction to Anne's remarks has been swift and mixed. Some see her comments as a necessary reminder of royal values in an era that increasingly demands authenticity. Others interpret them as unnecessarily harsh, suggesting that Anne may be clinging to an outdated code of conduct that fails to recognize modern complexities. But to those who know her well, Anne's words are consistent with her character: pragmatic, principled, and wholly uninterested in placating public sentiment for the sake of headlines. If anything, her comments may signal a deeper conversation unfolding within the palace, a quiet reckoning about roles, relevance, and the future of the monarchy. With King Charles navigating the challenges of a modern reign and Queen Camilla standing beside him, the institution is under both external and internal pressure to evolve. But evolution requires honesty, and Anne's decision to speak may be one of the clearest indicators that the royals are no longer willing to hide every crack beneath a polished surface. What Princess Anne's candor achieves, whether intentionally or not, is a kind of emotional honesty that has long been missing from royal discourse. Her refusal to pretend that all is well, her acknowledgement of lingering discomfort, and her insistence on values over appearances mark a new phase in how the royal family relates not just to the public, but to each other. For once, it seems, the mask of formality has slipped, if only slightly, and in that slip a more human portrait of the monarchy has emerged. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, What are your thoughts on Princess Anne's reveal about Queen Camilla's family struggles? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.